discussing a topic that is probably very exciting, controversial, questionable, the art of sex. I know they've written a lot of books about this topic, and my tagline is that it is a sexual healing and a renewing of our intimacy intelligence. So that's the part that they haven't written about in lots of books yet. And I promise you, this will be different than anything that you have read about or heard about. First and foremost, because as a divine channel, I am committed 100% and wholeheartedly made available for divine to bring the messages to you through me. And it is an honor and a privilege to be able to do that. I remember when I realized that it was my divine calling, my soul purpose, and began to understand that I had soul contracted to do this work. And I was very delighted at the time because I had gone through such a whole bunch of shit in my life. And it was a part of me that said that if something good could come out of all of this, if I could help other people, then it would all be worth it. And then I feel like divine was like, bingo, now you're getting it. And that is exactly why this topic is close and near and dear to my heart. And I'm sure it is to a lot of you as well. I think that if it continued to remain only the title of the art of sex, some of you might have been like, okay, I've already read several books on that. But as soon as I added the tagline, that was a surprise. We don't always add the tagline right away. I'm going to just call out to my producer of my TV show to ask them to close my door, because I don't know if you can hear all the noise in the background, but I certainly can. So if somebody from my studio can come and close my door right now, I would be so happy. All right. And I'm thinking that I might have not gotten them to be on camera today and sitting in the studio. So there are reasons why we do what we do. Oh, awesome. There you go. We've got a closed door. I don't know if you guys were able to hear it or not, but it was crazy loud on my side. So the topic today of the art of sex, the renewing of our intimacy intelligence. I'm going to start there because that's the part that is most close to my heart. And I like to speak through, divine likes to work through me and bring the messages and also ask me to share my own stories. And I believe that's because if all you were to get is like this boring monologue of do this, don't do this, don't do this, we'd all fall asleep. So when there is some personal story attached to it of this is what I went through and this is what I discovered, and here's the success that has come out of it, and my healing and my health and happiness and wellness and joy in the area of intimacy, then it makes it relatable, easy to learn. I've always learned better from storytelling. Who's with me on that? I know some of you are able to be on video right now for the recorded part of our show. And anybody who relates to that, you can just put a star or a heart or on your camera, raise your hand, because I do like it to be interactive as well. Okay, good. I'm seeing some hands going up. This is awesome. All right. And Mandy too. Thank you for being here, all of you. I see Karen, I see Mandy, Ray, Susan, Jessica, Mari, Kristen, Laura, Christine. This is fabulous. Okay. So here's what I want you to start out with. Intimacy is supposed to be a part of sex, right? But it isn't always a part of sex. So that's what we want to look at first. And the next thing is when we look at the word intelligence, the word intelligence means that we are understanding why both people, ourselves and the other person involved, are even interested in having sex. Okay. So, you know how there's this thing out there called emotional eating, right? And so we try to catch ourselves and say, well, are we eating because it's what we need to eat to nourish our body? Or are we eating to nourish our emotional feelings going on? And it doesn't mean it's a bad thing to eat because of an emotional feeling, but we want to be aware, because if we do it all day long, every day, we're not going to be very healthy. We'll end up gaining so much weight. And then with that, we can end up with diseases and problems, right? So that's why we say, okay, let's eat with a purpose behind it, and let's do it with mindfulness, right? So I'm here to talk about the fact that most of us get to a certain point in our life along our journey as women. And this is the Win Win Women Network that I'm a TV show host for, right? And this recorded show is going to go out into 195 nations worldwide. So, because of that, we want to make sure that this topic is handled for the masses of women, no matter what country they live in. So, as I talk with you today, I'm talking to every single woman out there on the planet. And my biggest call to action, CTA, call to action, is to have mindfulness around your intimacy. So let's say that you're married and you're in a loving relationship. Let's start at the top of the chain, because that's the best place to be, right? In a healthy, happy, loving marriage that you're very happy to be in. And you are looking to connect with your spouse sexually. So the first thing you ask yourself mindfully is, am I doing this because I feel kind of like we have pulled away from each other and we don't have enough time together and enough connection, and I need to spice things up? Am I doing it because my spouse really needs it? And by the way, that's not a bad reason. Okay. Because in a loving marriage, you're both looking at what each other needs. And you're in a good marriage, you're both looking at what the other person needs. And therefore, everybody's getting their needs met. It might not be on the same day and it might not be perfect. And maybe there's a month where you feel more loved than another month, and a year where you feel more loved than another year, because everybody's ebbing and flowing and growing and changing and expanding. Or if they're not upgrading and expanding, they might be kind of stagnant or going downward. And so it's about paying attention to like what the growth pattern is of yourself and what the growth pattern is of your spouse. And it is okay to say, you know what, I think my spouse really needs some connection. I'm going to give them something that I think would really help them. And guess what? If your emotional intelligence is telling you that you're doing this because you really feel that it's going to help your spouse, you might check in with what they want, because honestly, what they want might be very different than what you're ready to or willing or able or want to give to them. So then you ask yourself, well, if the whole point behind this is to give them something that will give them a lift, a boost, a pleasure, a joy, a happiness, a reconnection, or whatever it is, you're going to be identifying it. Then you might go, well, what would it be for them? And you may or may not know the answer. Okay. Depending on how much communication the two of you have about your love life. And again, people can change from day to day too. So the crazy thing is, when we're courting for marriage, if we are doing it right, we're having long talks about the things that we would love to see in our future with our life together, of what we're going to co-create, right? And hopefully the topic of sex comes up during that conversation at some point. If it doesn't, then you're definitely not setting yourself up for success. So when you discuss that topic in courtship, well before marriage, you're both two different people than who you grow to become. So if you're like, okay, well, this guy that I'm thinking about marrying, he likes all the same things in the bedroom that I like, so we're good to go. That's not necessarily true. because that could be temporary. First of all, it could change based on what they're physically able to do and what you're physically able to do. Because as women, our bodies change. We go through all the different changes of hormones and menopause. Some people have a much lower libido, some other people don't. Pregnancy, sometimes your libido increases or decreases, or you don't feel like you want to connect in that way, or you want more of it. Like, things can completely change and you can become a totally different person during these different pathways. Well, men are the same way, or partners, more masculine versions of partners, even if they're a female. And they can be very different or the same in that they have emotions too. And I think sometimes we women, our biggest mistake is that we expect the masculine energy to be super consistent and capable of handling everything and anything that we throw at them or that life throws at them, and that we as women should be the only one with emotions. And I think that's where we put a separation into our relationship without realizing it. So, first thing I'm going to say here is, let's be fair about it, and let's know that everybody can have emotions, they can have needs that change. And although men don't have uh, periods and menopause and all of that, they definitely have hormonal changes as well. So we're going to say this, that it's important to check in with each other as to what they need. You might be very surprised that potentially all your husband wants from you is an hour of cuddling where you hold him and make him feel safe and secure, and he can lay his head on your chest. And you might be, some of you are in a healthy, happy marriage right now, and you're like, yep, that's exactly what my guy wants. And you're like, geez, I signed up for this hot, sexy guy that was going to be a rabbit in the bedroom because that's what he said he was. And now we're cuddling and holding and rubbing his head. And you're like, what is this? So that's where intimate intelligence comes in, the intimacy intelligence of, well, why are we using sex? Is it something that we're using to express our love? Because that's the ultimate reason for it, outside of procreation and having children, right? Is expressing our love. So then, if we're going to be mature about it, it's asking, well, how does my partner want love expressed? And so when you check in on the intimacy part, there are the type of partners that will tell you exactly what they want. Actually, that is much easier. But then there's the ones who will not tell you, they want you to figure it out. And then there's the ones where they don't even know what they want. You're going to have to figure it out. And on a given day, you're going to figure out that you did figure it out. And it might be something completely different than what you expected. Okay. So it comes down to, what really is intimacy? Is intimacy really the art of compromise, the art of expressing love, the art of giving and receiving care, caring about what they need today and what they want today, and then them caring about you and what you need and what you want, and then checking in with yourself. You might check in with yourself and go, geez, I didn't used to be the kind of person who really wanted all that, but right now I do. I would like to have some more hot, sizzling, something spiciness in the bedroom. So the art of sex is actually the art of communication, and then the art of compromise, and the art of being in an even exchange of energy in that relationship with your partner. It really has nothing to do with the act of sex. And that's my big message today. It's just another way to love on your spouse and to have your spouse love on you, or your partner. Okay. It's another way to exchange energy with each other. And an even exchange of energy in the bedroom might be that one person would like this and the other person would like that. They're two completely different things. And then we come to the topic of, are we commanding and demanding an even exchange of energy? And are we being self aware and mindful? I recently checked in with myself and I was like, because I found my mind going on autopilot. And on autopilot, my mind in this area of intimacy, the check mark box said, oh, you need some of this and this and this. Okay. My favorite things in the bedroom. And then as I checked in, I was like, no, not necessarily. That's not what I'm looking for right now. And here's what I am looking for right now. And that was the moment where the maturity really came through of that this isn't just a line item on the resume that has to be fulfilled. You know, the resume we give each other when we're dating or courting for marriage, and deciding to become an exclusive couple. It's not that. What it is it's the dance of intimacy. And it can make it very fulfilling. So I always tell people you don't actually have to have intercourse before you get married to make sure you're married to the right one. You know, a lot of people say, well, I want to make sure that it fits right and everything's good. And so be it. There's nothing horrible about that. I know that there's different religions that require different ways of looking at that. This topic today is not going to be coming from a religious perspective. Although I am very spiritual and I make I don't hide that. You know, I talk out loud and pray out loud with my people all the time. Many of you already know that about me because you've been following this TV show for a long time. And a number of you are already students in our academy and clients in our agency. So you understand that. However, today it's really about how do I nurture a loving relationship and where does sex fit into that? And how do I make sure that I'm acting from a place of intimate intelligence? And so that's becoming fully aware of who's my partner, what are their needs, who am I today, what are my needs? Because when I checked in and I said, no, that's not actually what you need or you want or you desire, I was like, huh, interesting. This is very interesting. And then I, of course, being the curious learner that I am, I had to go into a self introspection and go, how long has this been going on for? Have I just become aware of myself in the intimacy department recently? Or have I always been aware and I've just changed recently? And how long is this going to last, this change? Is this my new me? Or is this just what I need currently because of stuff that I have recently gone through? And some of you heard my lively story. If you're in the Unleash Your Fully Empowered Self and Happy Life course that meets on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York time, where I am, you heard my story of my most recent meetup with my mother and my son for his graduation lunch. And so I asked myself, is the healing that I'm going through right now after that lovely meetup, is that the reason for my change in what I need? Maybe so. So then we ask ourselves, geez, life is a series of transformations and it's a series of traumatic crises, just so you know. It's okay to say that. It's okay to say that we're going from one transformation to the next and one healing of a crisis to the next healing. And that life is not stagnant, even if we try to be stagnant. I mean, we could try to be on a hover and say, I just want to hover right now and relax. Well, you're living on planet Earth. That's like totally crazy to think that you can do that. You can intend to do that and you can try to do that. And then When one person decides to do something or act a certain way or be a certain thing, or something happens to them, now your priorities have changed. Because if you have family members that you love, and sometimes our family members are not biological, by the way, sometimes they're friends who have turned into family. Okay. Sometimes they're coworkers that turned into a friend that then turned into family. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your romantic partner either. Your best friend might have turned into your sister that you've always needed, right? So when we have people who we consider family, that makes you a person that's fully engaged in life, because now you care about other people, and now it's not just about you. And now anything can change at any moment, because someone who you love has something new happening in their life that's wonderful and exciting, and you want to celebrate, or sad and you want to be there for them because they're going through a hardship, right? So when you decide to engage with somebody and make them your partner, make them your spouse, make them your exclusive person, your romantic person, remember, you're going to go on a journey with them of who they ebb and flow as. And then it's the tango, because you're going to be dancing together. So you can't, at the beginning of courtship, where before you decide to become exclusive, know for sure, by having a sex talk, that you're going to be good to go forever. Because first of all, sex is just a reward for having a great relationship. It's not the relationship. It's like the cherry on the top of the sundae. First you have to have the ice cream, then you have the chocolate hot fudge, or the caramel, or the blueberry, or the raspberry. Now I want a hot fudge sundae. Oh my gosh. And then there's the whipped cream, and then there's the cherry on the top. The sex is the cherry on the top. And if there is no ice cream, no hot fudge or caramel or whipped cream, then there is no place to put the cherry on the top, right? And so when we are working on building a relationship, we're working on building a connection with the person of, who are you today? What can I do for you? What do you need? So it's good if you're in a relationship right now. Let's just say you are, because I know we have a number of people who are. It's good to check in. Maybe have coffee in the morning on Saturday morning if you're able to, or Sunday morning. Maybe it's Tuesday morning for you. Everybody's usually got a day where they have a day off from work, or at least a morning off from work, and they're able to connect. Sit down, have coffee together. Maybe you're going to have tea. Maybe you're not coffee drinkers, or whatever your favorite beverage is in the morning. It might be a smoothie, a healthy one with all kinds of good stuff in it, maybe a green drink, and enjoy a conversation of, where are you at today? What would you like? What would be the best thing for connection with you this weekend? In fact, you might say, why don't I ask you what you want, need, or desire from me? And then I can share with you what I want, need, or desire. In fact, at this moment, I don't even know exactly what it is, because I'm going to check in with myself. And maybe if you check in with yourself, we can find out what that is. And those are marriages that last a lifetime, because you're able to change and ebb and flow. You're not trying to push something on the other person, and they're not trying to push something on you, saying, well, if you're not doing this, this, and this, then it isn't going to work. Because what you're saying is, I don't really give a shit about you. It's all about me. And a relationship that has one person in there like that doesn't work very well. However, it doesn't mean you have to like end the relationship, get rid of them. It means you might have to wake them up to that. And sometimes you might even have to say, geez, it sounds like this is all about you and not about me. I really feel sad about this. And then the person goes, oh, no, that's not true at all. I'm so sorry I gave you that impression. So then they are woken up to how they're behaving. We can't just ditch and run because somebody's not being self-aware. Sometimes your role in their life is to help them to become self-aware. Relationships are not about sex. They're about growing as individuals. The sex, again, is the cherry on the top. And it might not be a maraschino cherry. Some people would rather have a cherry that's unprocessed that they just picked or they bought right at the health food store, and maybe they want an organic one, for instance, right? So everybody has a different kind of cherry that they want. They might not even want a cherry on the top. They might want a strawberry or a blueberry, or maybe they don't want any cherry right now because this month they just need to be held and hugged, and that's their sex. And next month, maybe they're going to be into something more hot and spicy that involves something of penetration or something of whatever, oral, who knows. But the point of the matter is, it's about being open-minded with each other instead of giving them this little report card that says, well, you didn't do this or this recently, so our sex life is terrible. Now we're having a terrible sex life. That isn't intimacy intelligence. That is being like a reptilian thinking brain of a robot, kind of like on doot, 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 doot. If I don't get ABC, then I am not in a good relationship. Okay. Now, I'm saying that because you might not be the one that has ever thought that way, but maybe your partner currently is like that. And you might want to wake them up to that. Maybe you're thinking about past relationships you've had right now, going, yep, that's exactly what I was doing in that past relationship. And I missed the boat. Or that's what the other person was doing, and they were missing the boat. So what is cool is that when you're in a good communication, and sometimes you have to force good communication by being a little bit relentless and saying, hey, let's go for a walk along the beach. I just want to check in with you on all the different areas of our relationship and if you're feeling super fulfilled. Now, you got to read between the lines in communication, women. And we women are supposed to be good at this. But I think sometimes, and I can't say for all, but sometimes I think men might be better at it than us. They have had, because, well, they are normally trying to figure out we women. And again, remember, sometimes we haven't even checked in with ourselves. Sometimes we haven't even taken the time and energy to become self aware of who am I right now? What are my needs right now? And so if we're on an autopilot from who we used to be a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, that's why we're miserable in the relationship, because we're on some weird, outdated program that used to be running through our head, and we're still letting it run through our head. And it isn't even real in today's world of who you have become. You have become someone who maybe is now more open to having intimacy. Maybe 5 years ago, you were still healing because you went through a horrible relationship that was toxic, or you were raped, God forbid, and you are healing from that. And maybe now, 5 years later, from a lot of self work, a lot of self care, you are in a place where you're willing to open up, but you don't exactly know what that's going to look like. So you're willing to tell your partner, you know what, I'm ready for more. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. Can I talk you through it? Like, can I just share with you what I'm feeling? And maybe can I give you a little bit of an open door to try, maybe to figure me out? Because that is where the magic is. When you allow your partner to try to figure you out, because you can surprise each other in that space of trust. So for homework, any of you who are looking at this TV show as a training or a ascension process of, let me take my life to the next level, let me take my relationship to the next level, I would say go to your partner and just ask, can we go on a discovery adventure with each other? And can we both try to figure each other out? Can I see what your body, mind, and spirit is going to respond well to? And can you see what my body, mind, and spirit is going to respond well to? Can we kind of throw out all the old, outdated thoughts about what it's supposed to be for intimacy or sex? And can we create something new together that's right for now, for where we are both at right now. And some of you have been married for 25 years, 35 years. We've got people of all different types of relationship statuses tuning into this show live, as well as the recorded version later on when they're watching this. And through that journey, sometimes we can get into a comfort zone and we can think, oh, well, you know, he's always loved me. I can do no wrong in his eyes. And you might be wrong, because he might have changed a lot and you didn't take any time or energy or a care to finding out who he or she, whoever you're married to or in a relationship with, has become or needs right now. So the next message is, don't rest on your laurels, don't get into a comfort zone, and don't take your partner for granted, because you could be making a really big mistake. All that needs to happen is that they're getting attention from somewhere else that feels good, and you aren't giving them anything that feels good currently. And sometimes they can be whisked away. And it's important for us to stay diligent in paying attention. That's why I believe a weekly minimum time together at breakfast, out on the patio, if possible, outside, if you've got children, or maybe you go off and have a breakfast and you've got somebody babysitting the children if you have little children. And once a week, be able to connect so that you can have that check-in with each other of, you know, what would make your love quotient go up even higher. You might get some crazy answer like, you know, honestly, I just would love it if you'd sit outside and watch me build the deck on the pool this weekend. I just want you to like be cheering me on. And you'll be like, that's your sex for this weekend? Oh no, I want that too. Okay, what do you want for the sex? And then they might go, maybe a back rub with that new oil that you bought. And you're like, okay. Now, some of you, I talked to some women, they're like, geez, I would like more sex than my husband wants. What's going on? Or sometimes it's the other way around. He wants more sex than I want, or she, or whoever you're married to. So you are checking in going, okay, is that really what you want? And is that this week, next week, this month? And then say this, is it okay if I just intuitively read you? Okay, introduce that. You know, there's a lot of classes in my academy. We teach psychic medium development workshop. And that's our basic workshop. Then for many people, they want to take it further. So then we've got a level 1 certification to become a psychic medium reader. And that includes the 3-tiered reading, along with it includes the automatic writing. And then people who have already taken that, they're like, I'm ready for the next one. So the next one has the 6-tiered reading. It's very advanced. And that one is now available. And I'm going to tell you something. Use your psychic medium abilities, your intuition, your inner guidance to lead your intimate life with your partner. If you do that, you can actually talk to his or her body and ask their body, your spouse or your partner, what it wants. So if you put your hand on their heart area, their heart space, if you're laying in bed together, you can just say, and you can talk to the higher self too. Because again, some partners, and it might be you, we need spice. We don't want to tell them what we want. We want them to read our mind and give them what we want. And we don't even know if we want what we want. We just want them to make us happy, but we don't know what that's going to take. Right? So that's where the psychic medium development comes in. Okay. Now you're probably going, well, geez, I'd like my partner to be doing that. Well, it's got to start somewhere. And if you start it, you can get the ball rolling, and then you can tell them, and then they might go, wow, what just happened? Oh my God, that was amazing. You know, after you have some wonderful interaction together, whatever that looks like. Right. And you can say, well, I read your body and I asked Divine for information on what you needed. I asked your higher self to guide me, and they'll be going, that was really awesome. Oh my God. How did you even figure that out? I am so happy that you are taking these psychic medium development classes. Didn't know it was going to be this great. And then you might say, hey, can you start reading me intuitively too? And by the way, if you already know what you want, go, hey, I'll save you the intuition. Let me just tell you what I need. And, how about the courtesy of one hand washes the other? An even exchange of energy in the bedroom or out of the bedroom. It might be outside. Who knows where you're going to be together? It might be that you go parking and you act like you're back in your teenagers again, or you're taking a walk and hiking and then you start making out against the tree or whatever. Who knows what you're going to do? But if you already know, then be aware. But you know what? Don't go on autopilot. Go back and check in with yourself and say, what do I need now? And then make it available. And depending on how good your communication is, you guys can have fun with it. So that's the introductory message of the art of sex. And the healing, a sexual healing. I don't know if all of you caught on to the sexual healing is that this whole act of sex is done as an expression of love that's mindful, that is checking in and compromising, as well as maybe asking permission. Can I read you? Will you read me? Or can I just tell you what I need? And that if you begin that, it will heal the past stuff that happened with you that didn't go so well. All you have to have is one really nice relationship that starts working in your life. And it might be that you're revitalizing your marriage that you're in now, or it might be that you're getting ready to meet the love of your life coming up. And if you're in this show right now and you're interactive here, you're probably here because you know that there's big positive changes coming up for you. And one or two things that I said today have prepared you for it. And so, as the biggest takeaway, I want you to look at it completely differently than you have in the past and accept the fact that it's not going to be just this brainless, mindless thing that's going to just happen or not happen. And you're going to say it's either good or bad. But instead, you're going to go on the journey and have it be an what's called a transitionary mindful tango dance. And if you've ever done the tango, it's like both people have to have the same weight when they meet up on the dance floor, because you have to push each other's hands when you're holding hands or touching backs or however you're connecting on whatever dance you're doing. And you have to feel the same strength coming from each other. So check yourself right now. Are you bringing the same strength to the relationship that you're in right now that your spouse is or your partner? And are they bringing the same strength? And are you maybe pushing them over? And maybe can you soften? The feminine energy is very soft and it receives in some instances, but then it's also very strong in others, because feminine energy has both the strength and the gentleness, and so does masculine. Masculine can be very gentle. It can also be very strong. And it's about doing that dance together and being able to match up energies with each other. So when your spouse is strong, you becoming strong. When your spouse is gentle, you being gentle, or other way around. You're gentle and it softens, or you're gentle and their strength comes out, because you're like, oh, if you notice, if you talk softer and you have more gentle spirit, what does that do? How does it change the dynamic of your partner? Pay attention. You might like it. You might go, geez, when I get soft, they start being really strong and masculine. And I like that. Oh, okay. I think I'm going to do a little bit more of that. Instead of just walking around like a tomfoolery kind of a person. I hate to say it, but some of us walk around and we're just being stupid because we just think, oh, I should just be however I want to be, and they're just going to have to do a dance around me. That is selfish. That's narcissistic, whether it's you or the partner that's doing that. So if it's not you doing that and it's your partner, then say, I think you're really kind of being selfish because you just want to not even pay attention to me. And I'm just supposed to make sure everything is taken care of for you. How about if we do that for each other. Therefore, we'll both be blissfully happy. How about if the courtesies that I'm giving you, you give to me? Now, that might have to go the other way around. It might be your spouse or your partner that's very courteous to you, and you're the one that's being dense. So ask yourself, how are you being in your relationship? How is the dance going? And can you start experimenting with your energy and allowing some of the different parts of your feminine energy to move to see how the dynamic changes with your partner? All right, so now we're going to go into the discussion part of our show. The recorded part is going to end, and I want to thank you so much for all of you attending. The next show that we have coming up is happening next Thursday, and it is titled Your Soul Purpose. And I'm very excited to be sharing that topic because some of you already know what your soul purpose is. Others of you are really getting warm or even hot. You're on the hunt to really nail it down and understand it. And some of you are like, I'm clueless. I don't even know why I'm here. And no matter where you're at, beginner, intermediate, or advanced on the topic of your soul purpose, definitely come next week because we're going to get down to the nitty gritty on how to understand it and how to amplify it, make it happen, and be healthy and happy doing it. Excuse me. So we'll see you next week.